Welcome to Creative Mornings Oakland. To speak on behalf of Oakland and the theme of magic today, we have Khoe. Meili is the founding DJ of Le Palanga DJ Coalition here in Oakland. She loves to dance and dance while DJing as well. She directs design and research at the Khan Academy, and she had a long stint at Apple where she worked on UI prototypes for hardware innovations such as Taptic Engine, Force Touch, direction tracking, location tracking, and more. So without further ado, I want to welcome up on stage. Please give a big hand to Khoe.
All right. I'm Khoe. I know it's confusing. It's actually Khoe. That's because it's a Dutch translation of a Chinese word from Indonesia. So when you're familiar with that cultural group, you start being able to pick it out, as some of you in the audience know. That's my Twitter handle. I have no hashtag. So first, I'd like to know a little bit about you. Who here loves math? Who here is terrified of math? Okay, great. Who loves dancing? This is a great crowd. You're going to love this. Who is terrified of dancing? Good. Okay, great. We have a great mix. Those of you who know me very well know that I love culture. I'm fascinated by it. Everywhere I go, I study culture. I feel like it's this invisible force. It's all around us. It affects everything that we do. But we can't see it. We barely understand it. And oftentimes, we just forget it's there. It's as if we're fish in water. The fish can't see the water. They don't even realize they're in water. And so I think part of the reason that I've been extra conscious of how culture works is a little bit about my background. So people like to play the where are you from game. I live in the Bay Area. Where are you from? Where are you from? I am from. So oftentimes my first answer is, I grew up in Vancouver, Canada. I went to school there. Okay. And yes, Canada does have a different culture from the United States, contrary to a lot of American beliefs. But when people say, where are you from? Well, I was born in the Netherlands. Okay, yes. Sometimes the easier answer is like, I live in the Bay Area. But then people will dig a little further. So at this point in time, you can see I've already immigrated twice. So in my lifetime, I have immigrated twice. Then people continue to dig and ask, where are you from? Then I start talking maybe about my ancestry or my lineage. So 10 or 12 generations ago, a lot of my family started immigrating from this area of China, the Fujian area, part of Guangdong. It's a little bit of a mix from that area. They were escaping famine, potentially war, looking for opportunities, all kinds of stuff. My parents were both born in Indonesia. So now you're already looking at a 12, 13-year history of migration, or 12, 13 generation history of migration. My parents, born in Indonesia, had to also migrate 2 or 3 times. Their first migration happened in 1965. And it's amazing that I'm speaking on this very day when 51 years ago there were assassinations that kicked off a whole bunch of violence. It was a genocide that people still don't admit ever happened. Most people don't know it even happened in the first place. They talk about 500,000 to 2 million people being killed in a matter of months. And with that kind of number range, you know that nobody knows actually what happened. So that kicked off several migrations for my parents, and then several migrations for me. For a long time, this was a source of shame. I think now, in our current context, in the water that we're in, this looks like something that's fun and exotic, and look at all these places that you're from, how interesting. But when I was growing up, this was something I hid. I wondered why my parents dressed differently from other parents. Why was our food different? I was embarrassed by them. I think a lot of people can relate to this. So something else interesting happened when I decided to choose a career. I wanted to do design, I wanted to do art. My father said, how are you going to feed yourself? I said, okay. I'll study engineering, and then I'll study art, and then I'll figure out how to put them together. Okay, so we did that. And as you can see from this timeline, I sort of bounced around between design and engineering over the years. Again, I was trying to be in two worlds and bring them together. And I did what I could. Some of you may have read some of what it was like to work in the tech industry over the last 16, 20 years. I was asked over the summer by an intern, how did you survive? You've been doing this for so long. We're reading about things in the last six years. You've been doing it for way longer than that. I said, well, I guess there's a simple answer to that. This is a very honest answer. I danced, and that was how I coped. At some point in time, I also realized that I was so opinionated about what I was dancing to. So you can see, around 2008, a group of us here in Oakland founded La Pelanga. So we're a DJ coalition here. Every once in a while, I was able to bring together some worlds. For example, most of the time at work, I had to kind of lower my femininity, but I did manage to put pink hearts in the operating system of your Mac. Using face effects long before Snapchat had them, by the way. I also managed to put my Technics 1200 turntable on your Mac. This is drawn off of the, yes. Yes, I love that. By the way, I encourage noise. I should have mentioned that this is also a cultural construct. Me speaking and you staying silent, that's a cultural construct. So we're in Oakland, let's break that down. If you make it, can you snap? You can snap, everybody can snap. If I say something you like, let's hear that. Okay, great. So I did occasionally manage to bring the worlds together, but frankly, most of the people I was surrounded with every day, if I said, oh yeah, I DJ, they'd say, oh, do you play EDM? I'm like, I play, they're like, what do you play? Well, I play music that's syncopated. Yes, snaps. But yeah, for the most part, I was hiding a lot. I was hiding a big part of who I was. And after years of doing this, I thought to myself, what would happen if we broke down these walls? If we made space for more people to be their whole selves, especially at work? This is especially true in creativity. Steve Jobs said, creativity is just connecting things. And I really feel like the magic happens when you connect the unconnected, when you connect the unexpected. So, Oakland is an amazing place to talk about this. One of the most diverse cities in America, over 125 language and dialects spoken. So many people here know, like me, what it's like to straddle worlds. From the Great Migration to all of the refugees that are coming here even today, seeking safety, new opportunity, just wanting to work. Most of the time, I've had to separate these two things, dance and invention. There were literally times in my career where I would prepare a deck to present to Steve Jobs, hand it to my VP on a USB stick, get in the car, drive an hour and a half, spend the next 3 or 4 hours dancing, try and wash off all the glitter, and go back to work the next day. Nobody at work knew I was doing this, or maybe a few people did, but for the most part, I was trying to hide it. Why? Because this is a feminine thing to do. It was culturally different from everybody around me. I felt like it would not be a good career move for people to understand how I was dancing in my spare time. Who wants that? So let's bring them together. I have to admit that this is proof of the kind of culture I was in. This is a wristband for Apple's Worldwide Developer Conference in 2013. If you can read it, it says, "Dancing's not in my toolkit." It's like, who are you? What are you saying with this wristband? What are you saying about who's included and who's not included? So we're going to change that today. I'm not the first person to propose this. You might be surprised that this Seymour Papert, actually, yes, snaps for Seymour Papert, I love this, proposed something similar a while ago. And if you take a look at what he does, he's also bridging worlds, math, computer science, education. He invented something called Logo. For those of you who played with the turtle, the little logo turtle when you were younger, yes, snaps for Logo. It allowed you to control a little turtle on the screen that drew. One of the things that was amazing about the way he taught this was he actually had kids be the turtle. So they were being in their bodies and actually acting out the programming with themselves. That's something that we oftentimes don't do nowadays. We sit statically at our computers. We don't stand up, we don't move around. So Papert proposed that math education and dance education could merge and have math education feel much more like a samba school in Rio, which looks like this. Right? Wouldn't it be amazing if that was what it was like to learn math? So in 1975, Papert proposed this. And a lot of people thought, well, math is not fun and dance is fun, so there's no way that can happen. But mathematicians find math very fun. And there's plenty of people that are terrified of dancing, as we saw earlier. So why not? I thought to myself, after learning about Papert proposing this back in the 70s, how did this sort of somewhat nerdy inventor guy also wind up crossing some sort of interesting water to a different pond? And it turns out that he was friends with this guy, Paulo Freire, who authored Pedagogy of the Oppressed, and is from Brazil. If you take a look at what Paulo Freire was thinking about, he was also thinking about several things at the same time, not just one subject. He was a philosopher, he was an educator, thought about critical pedagogy, culture, multiculturalism. And there is someone else that I thought was interesting in this picture. If you go to the acknowledgments of Mindstorms, Papert's seminal book, he mentions that his wife at the time, Sherry Turkle, was the glue that brought all of his ideas about culture together because culture was something that she studied. Now, most people don't read through the acknowledgments of a book, but I felt it was important to bring his wife or his ex-wife back into this. So let's look at something familiar. Those of you who use an iPhone have recognized this as the animation you get when you're about to try and delete an app. While I was at Apple, somebody casually called this a hula dance. They said, oh, you know when the apps do that hula dance? I was like, oh, that is not hula. This is also not hula. No. And this is also not hula. So those are Tahitian dances. Tahiti, hula is from Hawaii. Tahiti and Hawaii have over 2,000 miles between them, which is the same distance as there is between San Francisco and New York, except they're two different countries separated by an ocean. So those of you who've been to Hawaii lately or have any sort of chance to interact with Hawaiian culture know that this is more what hula actually looks like. It's not this fast-shaking Tahitian thing. Now, something that's interesting about hula is that it was banned for over 50 years. So we want to talk about the resilience of culture. This is a dance that's over 200 years old, I think. The first record of it was in the 1820s. Actively banned and punished, and is still alive today. Let's see what it looked like probably before it was modernized post-banning. So this is Kahiko.
Every movement is paired with a movement in nature. When we do this movement with the uehe, in which you step and open the knees really quickly, that entices the earth to crack open. The hands are the wind. The feet mimic the heartbeat. It pounds on the earth to entice her. When you gyrate your hips in nice full circles, that entices cycles above you and below you to happen.
Someone say circles. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. Hip circles. Okay, oftentimes today, people talk about twerking, moving their hips. It all gets called twerking. Right? It's like, why? It's actually very technical. There's literally over, as many of you know, hundreds of ways to move your hips. Here are just a few of them. Some of these, again, are over 200 years old. So let's talk a little bit about how it works. Your hips, we don't talk about them. Again, another cultural taboo in a lot of places. They're amazing. Over 60% of your body weight actually rests on them. So your vital organs, your brain, everything is sitting on your hips. But as Confucius says, I hear and I forget, I see and I remember, I do and I understand. So let's not talk about it, let's be about it. Stand up if you're able. All right, we're gonna break things down. So for those of you that love dancing and are already proficient at it, and then great, you're gonna look at it in a slightly geekier lens today than you might have in the past. For those of you that are terrified of it, I hope this makes it more approachable. For those of you that are terrified of math, I hope this makes the math feel a little bit better because it's gonna connect to the dancing. So if you sort of run your fingers down your side and feel the bone at the topmost point of the bone, that's called the ilium. So when we talk about hips, it can be kind of confusing because there's this part, and then there's also the part that actually connects to your leg. So if you kind of pick your leg up and feel, this is sort of where the whiskers on your jeans would normally be, you can feel that connection. So that kind of gives you some idea of how tall that bone is on your body. There's a lot to it. And it makes sense because so much of your body weight rests on it. So that, at the top, that's called a greater trochanter. That's the top of your thigh bone that connects into your hip. So what we're gonna do, plant our feet, feel that weight going from your torso out and down your legs. So you can kind of feel like you're planted. And we're gonna do what we do as scientists, which is we abstract things in order to simplify them. So we're gonna abstract your lower half of your body to just look like this. So what's fascinating when I was digging into this is that actually we can connect dance and anatomy to mechanical engineering. If you imagine that the ground is segment Q, and your legs are P and L, and your hips are S, this is called a 4-bar linkage. It's a kind of constraint system in mechanical engineering. And even better, when you rock back and forth, this is called a double rocker. So for now, just keep your legs straight. Double rocker? That sounds awesome. Doesn't sound like something from mechanical engineering. Okay, great, you've got the hang of that. So you're already swaying because you're ahead of the class. While you're swaying, think about how the rotation that you've got going on right now between your leg and your hip is kind of this shape. We've got multiple people getting ahead of the class. I love it. Okay, so we've got that down. You can see how this leads to all kinds of awesomeness, right? Here we go, just lean on one leg, put all your weight on one leg. You can push out. Spread it over the earth. Pick it up again. Push it away. And then bring it back towards me. And then back towards you. Very nice, see? So rock star. Amazing. You're ready for the stage, if you haven't already been there. So the other thing is, just now we were pretending that our knees can only stay straight. Many of you already know the secret, but you can use that same rotation in your hip, that same one-dimensional rotation, by bending one knee. So if you just drop a knee, and then drop the other knee, you can feel that same axis of rotation in action. So if you do that over and over again, you're dancing merengue. Just bend. This is Rita Indiana, so merengue is from the Dominican Republic, and so is this woman, and she's amazing. All right, everybody's got that. Yay! So this is a 3D visualization of your hip bone. And one of the things that's super cool about it is when we look at the greater trochanter hinged into there, you'll see that it's actually a ball joint. You have 4 ball joints in your body. So for anybody that it isn't able to move the ball joints down here, you can also try this with your shoulders. Your shoulders are also ball joints. So we have Jeff Harry in the audience, and he has a couple of little ball joints that he's going to pass around that were made by Lego. So people can actually play with them and see how there's 3 degrees of rotation. We're going to take 1 degree at a time, and you'll see how they all combine. So now you get to dance and play with Lego at the same time. Did you think that was going to happen on a Friday morning? All right, so let's play with this next axis of rotation. So this is a kind of what people will call this pigeon toeing. It's kind of like turning your legs in and turning them out. So that's another axis of rotation. People associate this with the hokey pokey. Stanky leg. Fantastic name. Yes, perfect. This is the stanky leg axis of rotation. So Wilson Simonal, who's amazing, you can see how he's shifting his weight as we were doing originally, and then on the leg that doesn't contain his weight, he's kind of twisting in and out. So that's how you're using your stanky leg axis of rotation. So we're going to give you a second to play with that. All right. So you're just shifting your weight and letting your legs sort of fall in and come back out. And if you're the head of the class, I'm not going to stop you. Just go for it. You can do other fancy stuff. You can come up here and show it off. You're very welcome to. Okay, everybody's looking great. We've got 1 axis of rotation left. Thank you. So this one is a little bit associated with tucking under and arching backwards. So for those of you who have done yoga, I love how everybody is familiar with this. You've got your cat, scary cat, cow, arch back. Obviously, when you bend your knees, that's easier. So we're going to play with that a little. So you can try that. We're going to do our cow, and then put our weight on our right, and then cat, put our weight on our left, and then just play with that. All right. Is somebody finding something that's new? Yes, okay, we have all kinds of great stuff going on. We could just shove the chairs aside and have a dance party. Should we just do that? We can do that in a little bit. Fantastic. Yes, okay. So coming back to this animation, does anybody want to try and dance like this? Do you want to try and dance like this? It's kind of frenetic. So coming back to our friend, the unit circle. So I'm trying to think, what have we spoken? We've spoken about history, culture, education, mechanical engineering, anatomy, probably missing things. Dance, yes. So now we're going to talk about math for a second. This is the unit circle. Some of you may remember it. Some of you might use it all the time. And if you haven't for a little bit, it's really handy. So the way that you know what the xy coordinate is for the point around a circle is by taking the cosine and the sine of theta, which is the angle there, the inner angle that you see labeled with the little theta symbol. And that's how you can do a circle animation. So when we were talking about hip circles earlier, you can imagine that you're going between sine equals 0 to the other sine equals 0. You've got our like cosine at 1, cosine at -1, and those are like your 4 corners that you're joining together when you do your hip circles. So I took our unit circle, I wrote a little bit of code using our friends sine and cosine, and I made a little alteration to that little home screen.
Now this one
All right, so super advanced. You can do the circle and do the stanky leg at the same time, inward, outward. Some of you may know this. So
are you ready now? Baby girl, show them.
we're gonna give that a try. So we're gonna go forward, side, back, side. And when you go forward, turn your knees out. And as you go back, turn your knees in. As you go forward, out, knees in, on the way back. And then double time. Yeah? amazing crowd. Best crowd yet. All right, you can sit down. So if we get back to this creativity just connecting things, I wonder to myself and out loud, how can we connect more things together? What can we do to create environments where everybody can bring their whole self into the environment, not have to hide things or be ashamed? And that's not just about us saying, like, I'm not going to be ashamed. That's also about the people around us making space for it. So how can you do that for yourself? How can you do that for someone else? I would love it if you just took a moment, turn to the person next to you and introduced yourself, now that you've already danced together, and talked a little bit about how you might bring your full self to your work. Maybe talk about the 2 things you have on your name tag if you don't have anything else to start with. How was that? It sounds like it was good. It sounds like y'all could keep speaking for a while longer about this topic, which is awesome. I just want to end with a little message. Nobody can take away that which you have danced. Thank you for being such a great crowd. And in borrowing from literary practice, I would like to put up some bibliography. Thank you.
Another round of applause for Meili. Thank you so much, Meili. How about for this song, we all stand up and dance for Meili?
Yeah!